by carrying a bed made of sticks. The model bed is usually carried by 4 people, mainly male. Manjakos believe the deceased spirit rests on the bed, controlling the movement of the bed, moving the men forward as a means of accepting and backward indicating no, anytime a question is asked in relation to its death as well as in response to what the future holds for the deceased family. This is an extraordinarily unique and extravagant Manjako event where dozens of animals are slaughtered to pay respect to the dead. Although it is a unique culture preserved, Manjakos are understood to be struggling to adore it, given the growing opposition it continues to receive lately as a result of modernization and the exorbitant cost attached to it. Nonetheless, majority are safeguarding it, since it is one of those deeply entrenched cultures the Manjakos are renowned for. Since the Manjako culture is said to be cultivated in their social norms and values, characterized by their ways of life, passed on to generations to nurture their culture, could also be the driving force of the humility and hard work they are widely known for. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The National Environment Agency recently engaged volunteers from the Army, police and other sectors of society in a cleansing exercise at the important Yelitenda-Babatenda ferry crossing point. The volunteers, as Uminja reports, removed waste from the water and left the coastline litter-free.
Of an oil spill a couple of months ago, but now the signs are hardly visible. That, however, does not mean there is no work to be done as far as ensuring a clean and healthy environment is concerned. The Yelitenda-Babatenda crossing point, by virtue of the huge volume of traffic it handles, is prone to human activities that have a negative impact on the environment, like littering and other forms of pollution. Although much of the activities that environmentalists frown upon take place on land, the impacts are felt deep below the surface of the water and have serious effects on the ecosystem. So by removing debris from the water, the volunteer corps that comprise soldiers, police, vendors who eke out a living at the crossing point are not only making the place neat and tidy, but are equally contributing to efforts geared towards ensuring a harmonious relationship between man and the hundreds of aquatic creatures and fish species that survive in the water.
This exercise is all about the cleaning of the environment and the coastal areas. And Babatenda and Yelitenda happens to be lucky to be part of this exercise.
When this place is clean, everybody will have a nice view of the place. But as you can see, sometimes the view is not pleasant. Yeah. So that is why we are here.
There is a law that outlaws the indiscriminate dumping of waste, but it seems some people are still bent on resorting to the easiest way of getting rid of things they don't want.
Babatenda and Yelitenda, together with Bara and Banjul crossing points, are strategic areas in which we are always having problems of waste. We thought the waste around that area is serious. We should make sure that waste is not there, because we don't want waste to go into the water bodies. And I want to tell everyone here that the environment, the aquatic environment, is also home to our seafood.
Now, stakeholders have come up with a new measure designed to ensure a clean and healthy environment.
Every shopkeeper here or every vendor in this terminal, being inside and outside the terminal, is ready to contribute $25 per month, whereby that money will be kept to buy fuel for the for the tractors, from area council and other the good citizens in Faraveni who are ready to give out their vehicles and tractors to collect the waste. That money will be used to buy fuel to collect this waste from the terminal to the final dump site.
The National Environment Agency has again taken the lead by providing wheelbarrows, spades, gloves, among other items to people who work at Yelitenda-Babatenda crossing point. Perhaps a sign of high-level commitment, but whether those tasked with the responsibility of cleaning the area match the NEA's concerns is a matter of wait and see. Uminjai, GRTS.
Well, aid workers in Sudan and Central African Republic highlights the plight of civilians caught up in fighting between the different protagonists as negotiators in Banjul look for solutions to the region conflict. And a second blast in as many days shakes confidence in Russia's ability to ensure security during the fast approaching Winter Olympics. These stories and others right after this break.
Spectacular, mega explosive New Year's Eve banquet dinner and the grand dance salsa explosion night featuring Le Grand Maestro Medun Jallo and the salsa giants of Africa, Africando. Celebrate New Year's Eve in grand style at the Coconut Residence Hotel, the paradise on earth. Maturity, sophistication, real ambience with a selection of exquisite fusion dishes, taste of Gambia, Nigeria, Morocco, and the Oriental. En vogue, avant-garde on the runway, see to believe, spectacular fireworks display, art exhibition, grand raffle draw, presented by Africa. Happy New Year. Powered by Africell under the Coconut Residence Hotel.
Welcome back after that break and to news outside the Gambia. Up to 100,000 people uprooted by clashes in the Central African Republic are seeking refuge at the airport in the capital Bangui. Aid workers are meanwhile voicing concern and appealing for assistance, although conditions there are far from suitable. The internally displaced people have opted to stay under the protection of French forces. We have more in this report.
The refugee camp at Bangui Airport grows bigger by the hour. It's twice as large as it was a week ago. Nearly 100,000 people have sought refuge here under the protection of the French army. Sanitation is a disaster. Humanitarian aid workers are simply overwhelmed.
There are no toilets, there is not enough water, no food distribution, no tents are handed out. Everything needs to be done, especially concerning hygiene, which needs to be addressed immediately. It's catastrophic. 100,000 people in such a small space. It is urgent that something be done.
They fled the ebb and flow of killings in their neighborhoods. Whole families crowd under the tarpaulins. Despite the terrible conditions, these people plan on staying put, too frightened to leave the camp.
We are in a catastrophic situation. As we speak, humanitarian workers are making lists. These lists exist, but we have not seen anything.
The volunteer doctors receive up to 20 wounded every day, victims of the fighting between Christian inhabitants and Muslim militias in the Central African capital. Aid workers say they need a lot of everything right away. Nearly half the city's population has fled to one of the 55 camps for the displaced. Almost 400,000 people, men, women, and children.
In South Sudan, about 20,000 members of an ethnic militia have been marching towards the town of Bor. But today, government officials have told CNN that they have convinced leaders of the so-called White Army to retreat. There has been weeks of conflict between government troops and forces loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar. And as our Demon reports, there is a growing humanitarian crisis as terrified civilians flee the violence.
Juba transformed into a teeming town for refugees. Children have just started to receive polio and measles immunizations. Concerns are rising about the spread of other diseases, and aid agencies that sent out their non-essential staff are struggling to cope with the overwhelming needs. This woman, now a widow, with 3 children. He was walking when it all started. He tried to run away, but he was caught and killed, she tells us. She never recovered her husband's body. She's still in shock, left to fend for herself, relying on the kindness of others. Many more wait under the punishing sun for supplies. Being handed out here are non-food items, plus essential nutrient-packed products. But as dire as these refugees' situation is, there are others who are potentially even more desperate.
There are others who are seeking refuge in the bush and in other locations, whom we are also trying to reach.
The world's youngest